So, next speaker is going to be Antti Karjalainen, and he's going to be about starting the open source RPA movement. So, please Antti.
Thank you everyone for coming here today. I'm gonna have this first speech about RPA, then the rest of the day is gonna be focused more on the main use of Robocop framework, which is test automation. But this RPA thing was mentioned already in the beginning so many times that it's good to get this out of the way. Actually explain what it is and what it does. So about my background briefly, this is actually my second time organizing Robocon. Although I wasn't on the stage on the first time around, I was manning the t-shirt booth, so you might have seen me over there, but today, this time around, I decided that it would be good or nice to be on the stage as well. And personally, I've been a software developer since 2008, or as I counted, at least more than 10 years, and I've been involved with Robocop framework for around 5 years. It was back when we founded a consulting company with Ismo and a few other partners that I first got my introduction to test automation and Robocop framework. And currently I'm working at Siili as the director of intelligent automation, and I have the responsibility of all of our RPA business. So obviously Robocop framework is kind of an interesting topic for me in terms of RPA. But yeah, so since we are here to talk about the open source RPA movement, it's a good place to start is to define what is RPA. So how many of you have actually heard about RPA before? Hands up. Okay, how many of you know what it is? far less people know what it is than have heard about it. So it's good to spend some time talking about it. So RPA is basically a technology, any technology that is used to automate manual information processing tasks through existing APIs and user interfaces. So the key thing is here that of course you can automate things, but RPA focuses on doing it without having to interfere with existing systems or having to do like intensive IT projects to do the automation. So the basic thing is, or the basic promise with RPA is that if you can document it, you can automate it, given that the source data is in digital format. And in RPA terminology, we talk about software robots. So software robots and Robocop framework, people get this mixed up, and we get called RPA framework and whatever else combinations. But the terminology in RPA is that we talk about software robots, which are then software agents that replace human tasks in information processing. And the examples of RPA might be here. I listed a few of them. There's a ton of examples and use cases of RPA around, but you might think about tasks like somebody sends you a request for GDPR data. They ask that, what's all my personal data, and can you give it to me? And please reply within a day or two. So you need to go, you're a teleoperator or some company like that, and you need to go through like 5 different information systems, collect all that, and then send it to the person. Now you could do this with an IT project. You write some overarching system that does this for you, or then you can do a software robot that collects the data from the various systems and then packages and sends it without touching the existing systems too much, and you can use existing user interfaces to do the automation as well. And here it's kind of provoking the last example that software testing might be seen as something that can be automated with RPA. It's a manual repeating task that you can document. And the benefits of RPA are obviously the cost reduction. That's the one thing that people think about most. But when you go to talk with people who are actually using RPA, cost reduction might be the second one that they mention. The first one is the increased job satisfaction, because these tasks that we automate with RPA are really something that people are not meant to do in the first place. People are not designed to move information between one system to another, or manually copying, pasting Excel files and sending emails and so on. That's something that people have to do as part of their daily job, but it's not something that they really enjoy doing too much. And then you might have benefits like compliance with regulation, reduced errors and so on. And like I said earlier, the benefit of doing this with RPA then in contrast to doing it with some other ways is that we don't have to have huge IT projects to have something working and automated. And RPA is kind of a field where we accept that the world isn't perfect today. So we accept that we have legacy systems, and we accept that they're going to be around still for a while and for 10 years, tens of years, and we are not trying to fix everything at once, but we try to improve people's quality of work, reduce unnecessary cost and so on by working what we have at the moment. And actually there's a lot of, you might not bump into RPA that often in your regular day-to-day life, but there's actually a huge customer demand for this kind of work. So if RPA is then so great, like what's wrong with it? In my opinion, I mean, RPA isn't perfect. And first of all, what's wrong with RPA is that it feels like test automation back 10 years ago, in 2009. We used to have a lot of tools back then that were proprietary, and license costs were high, and they were really creating lock-in for the users. And the same applies for RPA as well. Today the field is dominated by proprietary technologies that have really user hostile license conditions, and the costs are really excessive. So you must buy licenses per process. You want to automate something, you need to buy a license to do that. Okay, you want to automate something at the same time, you need another license. And if you want to have the software robot triggered remotely without human intervention or scheduled, you need to have an orchestrator license. You might want to develop the robot, so you need actually development environment license. So you end up paying, like, if you do this in scale, you end up paying hundreds of thousands of euros each year for the license costs. So and also, yeah, a lot of hype about tools that are not that special. I mentioned here in the last bullet. So and why is the hype there? Why is there a lot of hype about RPA tools? For one reason is that the market is actually quite big. It's estimated to be around $2.3 billion this year, and it's going to double in the next coming 3 years. And here I have some examples of RPA tool names, and there's UiPath, Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere. Those are the usual suspects, the big ones. There's a ton of more. They all kind of have the same way of operating, same licensing model, same model of implementing automation and so on. They're to my eye, they're quite copies of each other. But they have been raising quite big valuations as well. So UiPath has done their Series C round with over 3 billion valuation, and Automation Anywhere collected 250 million, and Blue Prism it's a stock listed company in the London Stock Exchange, so it hangs around 1 or 2 billion market value. So there's a lot of hype, a lot of value on the market, and you think that these tools must be really, really good then. I mean, you pay 10,000 euro license each year for each process. That must be, you get top of the line tools to make automation, right? So I just grabbed a YouTube tutorial video. Some guy was introducing an RPA studio here, and he was explaining how to use it to automate a web form, some sort of a simple web form. It speeded up 8 times. The guy wasn't that fast. And of course, he is just explaining something and going through the UI and so on. But I mean, is this really the best way to automate a web form? So, I mean, it seems pretty complicated to me how you are drawing these diagrams, then connecting them with lines, and then opening dialogues and writing integers here, strings there, saving it. Does it work in version control that well? I mean, the format is probably some XML, some really long saves and so on. I think we can do better than that. So just to briefly summarize the beginning of my slide set is that we have a fast-growing new industry around RPA, and we are actually solving real customer needs with RPA. The license-based tools are doing it wrong. They're blowing it. They're not serving the customer in the right ways. They have user-hostile license conditions, and like I said, there must be better ways to do it. And of course, there is better ways, and it's nice to be able to say today that everyone over here and all around the world who know our robot framework know RPA right today. So I will many times said this, that the robot framework developer community has probably more RPA developers now than all of these license tools combined, even though nobody knows it yet. But like Becca introduced, that the 3.1 release introduced these new RPA features, and that made Robot Framework the first open source RPA ecosystem in the world. There's no other open source RPA tool to mention about. And Becca also said this, and I'm going to say again, RPA is not going to replace test automation as the use case. It's going to be in parallel with test automation, and both use cases are benefiting from each other. So they are not crossing over in that sense that they would be harmful to each other. We're going to have more traction in the community, more people around the community, more tools coming in, and it's going to be good for both use cases. And the demand that RPA will generate around Robot Framework will actually generate a lot of new opportunities for every Robot Framework developer out there. And the rough timeline for this RPA project is shown over here. I wasn't the first one to think that Robot Framework would be good for RPA. And I know that a lot of companies have done pilots with Robot Framework regarding RPA, but for some reason I think I was so hyped up about the last year's Robocon that I just decided that, well, now is the time to make it official. And to make it official, I contacted all the members of the foundation and asked around that which of the companies would want to put actual money on the table to make this happen. And we got 5 companies joining us. And we pulled in some money, and we started doing benchmarks to see that what do we actually need to implement in Robot Framework in order to make it an RPA tool. We got some license-based tools. We got some license RPA developers, sat them in the room and said them, okay, now show you stuff, and what do we are against with, and what do we need to match and beat. And then, we had some ideas, but at the end, first thing that we decided that, okay, we just need to change this test to task and we're done. that was the outcome of the benchmark. So that we are in a kind of a good spot with Robot Framework. We have over 10 years of use in test automation, automating various of systems from mainframes to dynamic web applications, to elevators, to networking equipment and so on. We have a lot of integrations already done. We didn't have to do that much to get it up par with the license tools. So of course that we did and launched it in alpha in June, and the official release came at the end of the year. And then of course we then started looking. We didn't spend all the money for the change of the naming. So we decided that we're gonna put the rest of the money towards the parser development. So we're gonna get better IDE support, better syntax for conditionals and so on. So the rest of the money from this project is going towards that work. And of course, RPA and test automation, although they are close, there's some differences. RPA is basically like creating test automation but for production. But then you have things like error handling, reporting, analytics and stuff like that you need to worry about a bit more. And of course, important part is learning the ways of working of RPA. There's different terminology, different expectations for the users. The users are not developers, but they are business users. So you might have accountants and so on using your system. So you need to be able to do the top level implementation in a way that makes sense for them. And the target systems are often like weird and strange, including like Citrix environments and Office, MS Office documents, ERP systems and so on. So it's a lot of desktop applications and a lot of things that are kind of in the margin with test automation. So here's an example of a typical RPA process. It looks like test automation. It's not like in the sense that what the robot does is not that different. The thing around the whole process is different, but actually hands in working with Robot Framework to implement RPA tasks is not that different from test automation. So that's why I'm able to say that everyone who knows Robot Framework really knows RPA already, even though they are not familiar with the ways of working yet. So, I mean, Robot Framework is great for RPA right now, but what's missing in the ecosystem? We really are missing learning resources, most importantly. I've had requests from like South America asking like, hey, you have this RPA tool, how can I get started? Well, we haven't written up the tutorials yet, so that's one thing that we have missing, and examples, online courses and so on. I'm hoping that the community will be able to help with this as well. And we can, if not the community, then we can of course spend real money to have this done, and we should get this done early this year. And then we might want to have package installers for new developers who are coming to the ecosystem, and then IDE support. For example, this Jupyter notebook is something that I'm really hyped up about, and I'm hoping that the talk about this is gonna be really awesome. I was watching the workshop yesterday, and I think that's really exciting development regarding this. And then we have all the enterprise stuff. So how do you develop Robot Framework tasks that are running in banks and insurance companies and big corporations? You need to have security, remote execution, secret management, data storage things, triggering, scheduling. Of course, we can run some of this with Jenkins, but it's really not meant for this kind of use. So to partly solve this ecosystem problem here, I'm quite pleased to announce today that with few friends and business partners, we've actually launched a new startup company that we are going public with today, that is focused on providing the tools that the open source RPA ecosystem needs. So it's based in San Francisco and Helsinki. And really our mission here with Robocop is to help you to make new Robot Framework software robots as easy as creating a new GitHub repo and then being able to deliver it for the end user. So you can check out robocop.com for a press release that's up now, I think. And we'll be introducing our solutions later this year. But this is just something that I think personally that we need to do in order to get the RPA use case started really in the community and make Robot Framework the default of open source RPA. So to wrap things up, today, as I said, today is the start of the open source RPA movement, and I think personally the Robot Framework community has what it takes to be able to really change up this industry. And why I think that is important is that I see RPA as an important accelerator of digitalization, and actually it really has the potential to make a huge impact in the ways that in which millions of people work every day around the world and make their work better. So we have the decision that do we want to have that made with closed proprietary license solutions, or do we want to see that the future of digitalization and RPA is open source? And I think the latter is the best way to go. So I'm hoping that every one of you here today will take a look into RPA and see what you can do with Robocop framework to improve the community. Thanks. We're almost on schedule, so we have some question time. Over there. Pekka, do you want to deliver this, or do we need to throw it again?
Might be there. I can throw it again.
All right, so now we start to have lots of things in place from technical perspective, from engineering perspective. And there's a huge RPA market, and there's these market leaders you showed there. So does the foundation or perhaps the new Robocop has a plan that how we will hit hard those market leaders there? So how to make publicity for this thing?
Yeah, I mean, the foundation has definitely an important role in supporting the core tool in RPA, but the foundation is of course mostly focused on core robot framework. So on my part, the Robocop Technologies Inc. is going to be focused on creating what all the developers need to make robot framework RPA processes for their users. At Sealy, we have focused all of our RPA efforts around robot framework already, and we are making actually good business with that. So I'm hoping that when we have enough tools and it's easy enough to get started with robot framework RPA, more and more consultants, more and more developers are gonna join that movement and actually see that when we don't have to, force tens of thousands of euros worth of license payments for the customer, they're gonna naturally select robot framework as the RPA solution.
I noticed on one of your slides you mentioned Citrix environments.
Yeah.
And that's a personal interest of mine.
Good.
I'm just curious, is there anything you can elaborate on there? What kind of support might be in RPA and in Rollup Framework to assist with a Citrix environment?
Yeah, Citrix environments are kind of a pain usually in RPA as well. So it's that people are moving to the cloud, the companies move their applications to the cloud, and what that really means is that they just put their regular desktop applications behind the Citrix connection. so that's what's happening all around the place, and Citrix is kind of a difficult technology because that's a bitmap stream that we get from the connection. So we have used Sikuli for doing image-based automation with Citrix connections, but if you have more robust solutions, of course those are in high demand at the moment. So basically Citrix is image recognition based automation mostly right today.
Hello. Yeah, so I'm gonna have a question about the software agent. Is the vision for the software agent to learn from experienced exploratory testers and possibly be like a way to support exploratory testing in the future?
The learning model, that the commercial vendors are also talking about learning agents, but nobody has actually presented a good solution for that yet. So that part hasn't been solved yet. It would be great to have some agent to monitor a person and then be able to recommend tasks that are going to be automated. But that's still in the future, I would say. We are combining machine learning a lot with RPA tasks. So you might have a task that has a decision point. So you could, or we are actually doing it right now, that we have machine learning models that then help with the decision. And if they are confident enough to make the decision by themselves, they're gonna make it. Or then if they are not confident enough, they're gonna refer to a human user or put it into manual processing, as we say in RPA. Okay.
Thanks for a great presentation and good work on the RPA as an evangelist, kind of. I have a question about the scheduling and that sort of thing. You mentioned we could use Jenkins. I was wondering what the current solutions are you using to implement that?
Yeah, so currently we run at Siili, for instance, we run robotics as a service for our customers, and we have a cloud platform that we've developed ourselves that we host Jenkins on, and we run in various configurations. We run workers that then do the actual robot tasks, and then we collect data and do reporting and analytics on top of that. But I mean, Jenkins has a lot of things already built in, so you have secret management, user accounts and so on, and that works to some extent. But then everyone who wants to do robotics for their enterprise customer right now need to build their own cloud infrastructure with their own CI and their own databases and own analytics on top of that. So that's one problem that we are solving with Robocop, is that we're gonna make a robust cloud platform that you can sort of easily deploy with the customers and have it be secure as well.
Okay. Okay, I think, well, we are kind of, is there one question?
Okay.
Very well, let's make that last and make it a quick question.
Sure.
So, practical question, is it possible to define the order of tasks being executed by robots?
Order of tasks?
Yes.
Technical question for Becca, I think, but in terms of RPA things, we are usually just scheduling one task at a time. There's triggers, you want these tasks to be run every 5 minutes. That one task is going to run every Friday at 2 o'clock and so on. So in terms of RPA, we usually the customer projects are 1 or 2 tasks instead of creating a suite of 150 test cases. That's kind of a different with RPA. You spend a lot more time with one task and make it real robust instead of creating a huge suite of things. So the order of execution isn't something that you kind of even think about.
Okay, thanks Antti.